Yeah, is Brock Lesnar overrated as a top superstar in the company?
Is he overrated? Okay, so there's a multifaceted question there. So, universally, I've heard great things about people who have worked with him, actual wrestlers, and so I value their opinion first and foremost when it
As
comes to
far as ring work,
the quality of his work. Yes,
okay.
because who else better to tell me if somebody's a good wrestler than some of the most respected wrestlers in the industry?
Right.
I've never been dumped on my head like that, and I hope that I'm not dumped on my head like that.
Hmm.
So there's that. So in terms of his in ring ability, I have to consider that. But then also, he's a wrestler who I've seen highs and lows from, and it all depends on how inspired he is. And so you could get a really good match, or you can get a match where it's just he essentially sandbags the other person. They don't get much offense. They don't look that great. And if you want to look at two opposite examples, and it all has to do with how much he respects the individual. So if you look at, I guess one of the worst matches that I've seen of his was the one with Dean Ambrose, and it was John Moxley. Universally considered his one of the worst matches he's had, and it's because that Dean had all these great ideas that he wanted to do, and he was fine with getting beat, but he wanted to do some really cool things with the match and kind of benefit from it, because even in a loss, if you take somebody to the limit and make them fight for it, it'll make you look a certain way. But that didn't happen. Brock really wasn't interested in it, and I don't know what the space Dean was at. Apparently, he was perceived as lazy. I guess that's what Paul was saying. Heyman. And there's an interview where he was on Stone Cold's podcast, and I mean this is pretty well documented. But all that came together to make a match that wasn't that great. And then
Hmm.
you look at possibly one of the greatest matches that I've seen was Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan, and that was such an interesting one because Daniel Bryan had turned heel and won the title really quick, and it was a heel versus heel, champion versus champion match at Survivor Series. And it was like, how the hell is Daniel Bryan gonna get through this? And so he got his ass kicked, but he was taunting Brock. He was making him angry. And then when the referee got hit, he gave him a low blow. Then Daniel Bryan took over the match and was just kicking Brock's ass. And Daniel Bryan has a reputation for working a strong style with stiff shots and stuff like that. And it worked very well. And Brock sold his ass off for him. Like all the hits, the submission moves, the strikes, everything. It just looked like he actually was gonna put him away. And so there's Brock is very formulaic of a wrestler, and it seems to me that he works best with certain wrestlers. For one, you have to have the respect there for him to want to make you look good. But with wrestlers like Daniel Bryan, he's put on really good matches with. He put on an absolute class. I would put the match with AJ Styles right up there with the Daniel Bryan one that he had. I'd also say Seth Rollins maybe a few degrees lower than that, but he could really work great matches with individuals like that fit that archetype. The super athletic guys who could pull off these things, make him look great, but they also could counter things, and so yeah, that has to be considered. But then when it comes down to it, his character has not always been the freshest, and I think that he falls into these states where he does the same thing repetitively for so long, and I think that they just coast on by that. So I'd say that he is slightly overrated, if that makes sense. It's like what he is capable of is great, but his range isn't always there. And like when you see his matches and you see them consisting of him suplexing people 30 times and hitting an F5, and that
Aren't
can be a bit
you aren't you
much.
only talking about one aspect of being a wrestler though, which is his in-ring work, but about his microphone skills? You did mention that he doesn't usually say anything on the mic, and he did have Paul Heyman to help him
Yeah.
during his reign in that stint. So, what about his microphone skills? Does that make him overrated, or what do you think about that?
Well, not everybody has the same set of strengths. I think he's figured out a way to work within those limitations because he's you know how when you create a player or a character in a video game and you have the stat distribution,
Hmm.
he's min maxed so much that it offsets. It's like his focus on his physicality, his ring work, and all that. I'd say that that's maybe 99, but his talking on the mic maybe 10 or something like that. But he has some degree of comedic timing. He doesn't do it super often. Like when he had the feud with Bobby Lashley, apparently people thought that the Bobby who line was funny. I didn't think that was that clever.
Hmm.
Um, and then just dropping one-liners and stuff like that. I, I can say that that's certainly his weak point, but it's something to be considered. I mean, there's certainly wrestlers. I would say most of the roster is better than him when it comes to cutting a promo.